And we are live. How is everyone? Welcome to another edition. I have to hold my phone here because it's literally almost dead. Because I'm like a robot when it comes to the laptop, which obviously Richard knows, but which I don't know where the hell he is. But how is everyone? Are we all okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Doing well.
Brilliant. Yeah, so for everyone that's just tuning in on whatever platform you tune on, please do share this because I know this is going to be a fantastic panel discussion. So I want to start because obviously the title is How Unresolved Emotions Manifest as Physical Symptoms. So I want to start with Dr. Allison because obviously you're new to this panel. This is your first show, isn't it?
This is my first this is my first show with you guys, and it's my first live stream. So I've done podcasts and interviews, but I haven't done a live stream. So I'm excited.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you finding it? Are you excited? Are you nervous? What?
No, I'm so excited. This topic is like one of my favorite things to talk about. And like, it just gets me so excited because I see this in my practice a lot. And a lot of my training is in Chinese medicine. And in that system of medicine, there's emotions with each organ. And when emotions are out of balance, either too much or repressed or not there, it then creates an imbalance in the organ. And then that left too much, it then manifests as a disease. So in Chinese medicine, the emotions, the environment, the constitution of each individual plays into how they treat the person. And also, so that's like the foundation of Chinese medicine. Everything's interdependent and affects. So I think it's really cool because now research and more on Western medicine is starting to understand that emotions are it's not just here up, it is a whole biological reaction that goes, and so you can't really separate the mind and the body. It like there is no separation. So I think a lot of physical pains can be just old traumas. It can be belief systems. And I've personally have healed physical issues just through like doing emotional healing. And yeah, it's really, I have a lot of my students and clients, but I think we have beliefs about our healing, and mainly now I practice theta healing. And I had a septic infection because I had a botched stem cell, and it took away all my cartilage on my knee. And so I was actually a candidate for like a knee replacement, like at 35, and I was like, absolutely not. I just can't do surgery. But I did emotional healing work on it. And so like, I don't think the cartilage came back, but I have zero pain. And what was in there was a lot of just, stuffed emotions that I hadn't cleared out. And then obviously I had a lot of emotions around that injury and what happened at that place. But I think we really, we're so much powerful than then a lot of people have conditioned us to heal ourselves and to really understand that. And our body remembers things. Our body, knows how to heal itself, though.
Yeah. I definitely believe you will get on with Nancy and Guy surrounding medicine topic. I really do. Because I know Guy interviews people when it comes to Sealy, which obviously I had the privilege of trying myself, I think 2 years ago, I think it was. And obviously Nancy does her Exponential Joy podcast as well. So I am. I'm going to connect you all, which I think would be brilliant. But Guy, I don't know if you're on Instagram.
What about Instagram?
Are you on Instagram?
I have no idea. I think so. I never check it. I'm primarily a Facebook kind of guy. So I think I am, but I don't check it very often.
Facebook has its
love what Dr. Snowden was just explaining about this with the emotions, because she's 100% dead on. And there's a really great book out there called The Emotion Code as well. So that's going to go into a lot of depths on this. And the work that I do, I've got a best-selling book. It's called Discovering Your Authentic Truth. And
I've got it.
Transformational work. And in there, you will find people that have a pain somewhere, right? But it's a repressed negative emotion or, unresolved issue in some way. And then it manifests as a pain or as an ache or as something else. And it's amazing what you can do just by working with the mind, because like Dr. Snowden just said, the mind and body are one. And when working with the mind and working through this and releasing the emotion at the root level, so what we do and the work that I do, it's not just surface level stuff. You have surface level stuff, and then you have the deep structure. And that's what we want to get to, is how is all this coded? How are these beliefs showing up? But then below the beliefs are the values, and below the values, you have these meta programs. And these meta programs basically run our lives unconsciously. So if we can get into the meta program of the mind and be able to release or reprogram that meta program, many times you will see that pain or that thing that's showing up physically go away. Not to mention a whole bunch of other positive results from it as well.
Yeah. Well, just carry on talking. I'm just gonna go and get some. So yeah, just carry on.
Yeah, I mean, the work that I do it's very heavily NLP based, neuro linguistics programming based, which is by Bandler and Grinder, who created this back in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's just really, really amazing. It's really evolved over the years. And when you understand this thing about meta programs and the surface structure and deep structure, it just can open up a lot of avenues that people from traditional psychology wouldn't begin to understand. I mean, traditional psychology still does not recognize it as a very therapeutic or recognized as a therapeutic wellness. And it absolutely can be when applied in the right way. So there's a lot of negatives to it as well. But I mean, people use it in a negative way, but the positives of it are phenomenal, and what you can do for this topic in itself. I'm really glad, Adam, that you invited me on for this. And I want to learn from everybody, so I'm good right now. Oh, there you got it, Adam. Thank you very much. I don't have a copy with me here right now, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. I really do.
Can you put the name in the chat?
Adam? Yeah, please. I was just going to say, please put the name in the chat. Janet and I are both from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and we would love.
Yeah, all right. Guys, doing it now.
Good. Thank you. So much of what you said just brought in the discord energy that happens within us. What happens is that when we experience a trauma or a grief, which I believe everybody on this panel has experienced at one time in their life, is that we do whatever we need to move through that experience. And we don't always have the opportunity to take the time to work on the pain. And the pain goes somewhere, whether it is an emotional pain from the loss of a loved one or the trauma from a car accident. And I mean, when you multiply that into so many of the traumas that we go through, which compound, they compound like the money in a bank account, except in a different way. That blockage happens, and that blockage, like I said, leads to discord, which can manifest into disease. And in recognizing that the disease can be transformed into a better wellness, there's so much opportunity available.
Yep.
Open your mind and just discover and ask questions. When something that someone says resonates with you, like, what do you mean? I want to know more about that. There's a great opportunity for learning, and we can all improve our wellness. It's improved wellness is a wonderful way because we all have the same common fear: death.
That's awesome. I appreciate that a lot, Nancy. And Guy, you're so smart. With the NLP, that's something that I've really wanted to, and I will probably get certified at some point. And I think it's an important factor because I am coaching people, and I want to be able to utilize that. Actually, what a couple of days ago, I had the opportunity because of Guy to meet. Well, not meet. Well, yeah, certainly meet. Everybody else is meeting us. Nurka, and she's a master certified NLP, and she's done just amazing things. I'm just so impressed, and I kind of knew these things, but I didn't even know what NLP was like 4 years ago. Now I do, and I want to help people, and that's why I'm glad that you brought me here, Adam. We've got a great panel of people, Dr. Allison, to be that doctor to give us this advice like you did. Thank you very much. I just think this is a great opportunity, and those of you out there that might catch this video, please share it to your friends. One of the things that I learned honestly from Nirka is about the improving your quality of life, and that's always been an issue for me, is improve quality of life, make it better for people so that they can enjoy themselves. I know that even for myself, so I speak from personal experience, I have been unhappy, really unhappy, and had mental blocks. And as a result of Nurka's seminar the other day, I released some, I hope, maybe all my blocks, but I know I didn't because I still do things that I shouldn't. Because it's really important about our words. Our words having power. And our words are a result of our thoughts. And I think thoughts are an important part of the ingredient of trying to heal yourself, find happiness. I think gratitude, and gratitude for me is the most important factor. I have a higher power. I call that God. God helps me through things. If you don't have a higher power, I highly suggest you get one. And I don't care what that is. If it's not God, it's something. And something that has more power than ourselves to take us to that next level. And then just like get into the groups here. Adam, you've got a private group. You can share, you can feel safe because nobody's in that group that you can't trust. So get in the group. Ask for the rules and everything, and fill the information out to be in that, and join us and just be part of it, because I think the bravest thing for anybody to ever do in their life is to ask for help. And when
absolutely,
when you ask for help, that's the first step of transformational change, which is the part of changing your thinking. And when you can change your thinking, you're going to change your life, and you're going to start seeing things happen. And that's the beauty.
Yeah.
I want to jump in real quick. Thank you, Stephen. You mentioned something, and I saw Dr. Snowden kind of nod a little bit too. So being a doctor, I would love to hear your take on this as well. Being connected to source. So, Dr. Wayne Dyer, he's going to talk about it as source, right? I talk about it as God. Stephen mentioned God as well. People are, whatever that spiritual connection is, because there is definitely something there. There's an amazing book, Quantum Questions, and I can't remember the author right now. And it's a collection of very famous scientists that talk about there's something more than just science. All right. And so when we're talking about mental health, right? And we're talking about blockages. That means we're disconnecting from source when that blockage shows up, right? Did you want to talk on that, Dr. Snowden, a little bit?
Yeah, what's the book called?
Yeah,
What's the book called?
That book is called Quantum Questions. I'll put it in the chat.
So I definitely, I had a near-death experience when I was 15. So this is also like one of my favorite things to talk about because like that experience, it was in the context of violence, and I had to have a lot of surgeries afterwards, but that reconnection to that energy of, I think was one of the main things that like got me through a lot of my physical and emotional healing. And I think trauma, whatever type of trauma it is, if it's physical, emotional, I think sometimes even neglect, neglect is sometimes almost worse than trauma because people don't understand because it's something that wasn't there. So all of these can pile up, and us as human beings, connection is health. So like us being connected to ourselves, and then also being connected to other people, that helps our mental health. But I feel like when I'm connected to source or to my heart, which I feel like it's a part of, I feel like my whole energy changed. And it's also like with, I didn't realize NLP was a lot like, I practice theta healing, and in theta healing, we connect to that source energy, and you can like feel it, or I can just like I get the God goosebumps. So I think healing is all about reconnecting and healing that discord and that like disconnect. And, the body like remembers. And I think, going through and being a trauma survivor, I think, having that type of, I think some of the most beautiful things in life and also the most horrific things in life, such as like violence or neglect or, emotional abuse, all of that. Sometimes it's like words can't even describe the depth of that. I always call it like, it's like that grief that's so beyond. And so I think, words are important, but also like our feelings and the sensations and being connected to our body. And I feel like, unfortunately, until like this time in space, people like we were supposed to be taught how to attune to our emotions and how to properly process our emotions. But a lot of us, we're learning from our parents, they're learning from their parents. So I feel like we're in this kind of dynamic of where we're at in history, where we're kind of, like people get traumatized, they get hurt, they get sick, and then we're all kind of relearning. And hopefully, like in future generations, there's going to be more of that emotional literacy, because what happens when we don't have an emotion? We either one of the maladaptive, or I think also some maladaptive coping mechanisms are necessary. So like I was in and out of the hospital for like 3 years, and so I literally disassociated. I checked out, I disassociated, but then it's like when the trauma is over, because there's so much physical pain, when the trauma is over, it's not like your nervous system doesn't go, oh, great, trauma's over, let's like go back into who you were before. You've adapted these, and Guy was talking about programs, you were in this state, this highly stressed state, and it's not like you can just snap your fingers. So you've adapted, which you have to survive, but then it's like, how do you undo that? And I can remember, my doctors being like, okay, your bones are healed. And I was like, whoa, what just happened to my life? So I had anxiety, and no matter, I think with trauma, no matter what I would tell myself, I'm safe, my body remembered what it had been through. And it's like that on an evolutionary level is good because we're supposed to remember pain, but it's almost like if you think about it, our civilization, their technology, we've evolved so much and we're more connected, but we're almost like more disconnected, because like you were saying, Guy was saying that we can use technology like NLP to heal people, but then also, people can use technology to hurt. And I think the basics of healing is connecting, community, and also reconnecting with ourselves and our truth. And then the healing process starts. But like our body, one of the biggest books in trauma is like the body keeps the score. And so it's, I think on one hand, like, cause I love spirituality. I'm part of the near-death experience, like community. And then I also love like manifestation and creating wellness. But then it's like these camps or these groups, they're kind of not interrelated. And I really do feel like in my work, I see all of it they're all related. We're always manifesting things, our states of consciousness. And it's just like healing those parts of ourselves, that experience violence or our nervous system, so you can open up to like live a great life. I can remember like my doctors, they were like, and I was 15 years old, and they were like, well, you're going to be in pain the rest of your life. And I had really bad PTSD too. They didn't tell me about that. But I was like, wait, I just did not survive to go through all of this just to live like a life of pain. I was like, no, like I'm not doing that. And just being in that like source energy when I was had my NDE, it was like anything is possible through love. Like we are so, I feel like in like the classes I teach, we're just tapping back into that love in our heart and then the love all around us. And I think what trauma does is we armor up and we shut down ourselves. We're not open to new people. And, sometimes, some of the stories I hear, and some of the experiences I've been through are horrific, they're horrific, and you can heal from them, and you need support too. And I think, and it's also getting the right support. And I think that's where I came into theta healing. So I did body work, meditation, yoga, and then got my PhD. And then I did functional medicine. So I was working with a lot of pain patients, because I was a pain patient and chronic disease patient. And what I started to find was once we healed the emotional root and trauma, and it depends on each person, but then the physical pain goes away. A lot of people with gastrointestinal disorders, there's like very big, this is not woo woo. It's like, there's facts on this. Women who are referred to GI docs, they have like, I think it's like 60% of them have had sexual trauma. Like, so, and if you think about that, if someone doesn't feel safe, guys, and this is emotionally too, like a lot of people have been hurt emotionally. They don't feel emotionally safe. Maybe they don't feel safe financially or just safe in the world. Once you've had trauma, that kind of destroyed that safe belief system. But the body needs to feel safe in order to heal. And when you guys don't feel safe, where does your brain go? It goes to, I'm not safe. It goes to hypervigilance. It goes, okay, where's the next threat? And this in polyvagal, so this literally disconnects your brain, and it changes your perception. You're disconnected from yourself, and then you look at other things that are coming at you. That could be people, situations, as something that is attacking you or that could hurt you. So this is chronic stress, right? And we like MDs, like my dad's a surgeon, same with my brother, and my mom and sister are nurses. And I'm like, every disease state has chronic stress in there, but they haven't gone far on what is it and how to undo it. And like, that's the work that like gets me really excited. And what I've seen like reverse in my own, like physical health, like, so I have no physical pain. And then just like on an emotional level, I mean, when that trauma happened, or before that trauma, I was the best sleeper. And then ever since then, it's been it's been about 2 years where my brain's been like silent, but my brain would always be like, what's going on? And I did a lot of yoga, I did a lot of therapy, but you know, when something is that like primal and visceral, like our brain is not here to make us happy. It's here to keep us alive. So if you've had a life-threatening event or something, or I really do feel like neglect and emotional trauma is really actually sometimes even the worst. And I want to also share, I don't know if any of you guys have had these experiences, but I've had a lot of patients, you know, I've had to undo trauma because people, when something horrific happened to them, most people don't know how to talk to people who are going through pain or grief. And so it's like, you know, when you're raw like that emotionally and someone says a wrong thing or something that is not kind, it almost like hurts you more. And so a lot of doctors, or I work with a lot of chronic disease clients, a lot of doctors say the wrong thing, you know, or they invalidate the person's feelings, and it just like makes it worse. I wish I could double myself, because I would love to just, you know, do like a campaign for health professionals, because most people who have advanced degrees haven't had trauma. And so I just would love to educate them, because, you know, validating people's feelings and just listening to someone with an open heart and not being judgmental of them, especially if you're, you know, a doctor or someone, could like be so preventative for a lot of people. But I think a lot of times people get so isolated in that if they're going through a physical issue, and then that just hurts more. And I think, you know, yeah.
Well, Allison, you've got different parts of the world sat in this room with you, so we could start a campaign. I think, because I know guys up for it. I know that. I would love to, because I'm so tired. I mean, my doctors have said some really, I mean, they told me I was going to be on pain for life, but actually that kind of motivated me. I'm like, I'm going to show you. So maybe I needed that. But like, I just had a liver transplant client, and, you know, very emotionally raw. And he was like, he said, well, you need to be grateful. You know, I mean, this woman just went through like, I mean, almost lost her life. And so I was just like, oh my God, the gratitude shaming, geez, you know, I'm like, you can be grateful. And I mean, she had major surgery. She has to change her diet. All of these, that's a trauma. And so I was just like, okay, so I'm gonna have to spend 2 appointments clearing, you know, that's shocking. That's like another blow. So, I mean, I would love to do it, because most doctors, you know, don't, they've never been through something. And I think they need some empathy education for sure. Yeah.
Just like basic, like what to do and what not to do with a patient, not to like, to make them more trauma informed. So they're not hurting. They don't need to emotionally heal the patient, but they don't want them to.
Well, I want to say thanks for saying all that, and obviously I want to read this from Guy's book. Obviously it is my favorite chapter. It's called The Secret to Happiness. The Secret to Happiness, like getting unstuck. And it's just this little bit of paragraph, and now I want to hear from Richard, because I know he's eager to jump in with his motivation. I know it's but this is what I want to say, and obviously this is encouraging you to buy this book. I also believe we need to let the populace know that it is perfectly normal to have a mental illness, or more euphemistically, disease. In fact, freeing yourself of disease is far easier than what we've been led to believe. And doing so makes life supremely better for you and everyone around you.
That's amazing. It's so true. I got chills because that is true. And when people get together and heal or even talk about healing, it just creates this energy. And I think self-healing is something that, like, that's what I teach. And I think it's a skill set that is just so amazing, and it's so empowering, because you don't have, like, I had horrific PTSD and horrific depression. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I was diagnosed, and all of this stuff had happened. And it's just interesting, the whole medicalization of grief. I just crying. And it was just like, I'm like, well, how am I supposed to move through this? Like, how am I supposed to, my whole life has changed. And like, what is normal? Like, is it, I think it would be abnormal if I was happy, so I think everyone needs to do whatever they need to do. I don't like people being like, oh, medication, or, none of this, like, I guess judge, because everyone is at a different stage of their healing. So I'm always like, whatever you need in that moment, and you can shift it. But I think really the root cause, going back to what Guy is talking about, is, the belief systems and the programs in our brains, and the narrative that we're telling ourselves is so powerful. I think because of my near-death experience and that deep experience with Source, I was like, my angels were like, you're going to be in kind of like a really bad spot for 10 years. Hold on. And I was like, oh, I was like, shit. I was like, oh, this is not. And I just want to say, someone was saying they're afraid of death. Death is like that. That's another part of my message, is like, I didn't feel anything when I died, and I was run over by a motor vehicle going like 60 miles. And I didn't feel anything. And you just go up to this amazing energy of unconditional love that is just so beautiful, so amazing. And you feel like you're home. There was no pain. There's no judgment. It was just all love. And I decided to come back. And then I was like in my body that was like, just destroyed on the left side. And I was just like, oh man, this is going to be hard, really hard. But I think we're just at such a cool time in history, because, like theta healing is what I teach, but like emotion code, there's NLP, there's all of these like holistic medicine, all of these different things, therapies becoming less stigmatized. I feel like we're going to turn it around and make healing a lifestyle, rather than, our culture's normalized repressing emotions, numbing them away. And so I feel like we're just turning the needle and, normalizing. Yeah, I have a healer and I'm doing great. I go to my healer every week. I have a coach, and I'm doing amazing. And then I did a healing class like a month ago, and I was like, I feel great. Do I need this? This is a theta healing class, another advanced class. And I was like, I feel great. Oh my gosh. That was one of the deepest classes. And I really released some things I didn't even know, So I just think it's such a cool thing. I think sometimes, and I'll have to ask some of the guys in this discussion, because I have a lot of women in my classes, but I think when I talk to men, I'm like, come join my classes. They're like, oh, healing. I'm like, well, it's growth. I'm like, maybe that's not the right thing I think men, the word healing means that there's something wrong with you, but I'm like, no, I feel healing is you're just upgrading your consciousness, your awareness. It's like evolving. We can't evolve unless we heal what's held us back, right? But I don't know if you guys, if any of the guys have comments around that, because I think we all need, we all need healing. But like, I think sometimes when I try to talk about my classes with men, they're like, oh no, I'm good. I don't think I need it. I don't have anything to heal. I'm like,
Yeah. What do you think, Richard?
Well, I mean, I would definitely use the word, instead of healing, leveling up, because guys love to level up, whether it's video games, whatever it's golf.
That's good. Okay, okay.
Leveling, one thing. Now, I love some of you guys are talking about is I've had many conversations with Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, Tim Ferriss, Russell Brunson, and they talk about NLP and using your RAS to actually change your mind. And a lot of us don't think that we can change our mind, but using NLP practices, we can change our mind. And if we change our mind, we change our lives. And let's just break it down Barney style, because the word disease, to break it down, is dis-ease. So if there's dis-ease, there's going to be disease in the body. I just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, what do you think, Ashley? If you're still around? I don't know if she is. Ashley?
I'll step in till she's available. Is that okay?
Yeah, go on, Janet.
Okay, so to really believe everything you're saying, Allison and everybody here, I went good 20 years, probably more than that, before I was even diagnosed with PTSD. Mm-hmm. And that journey was full of a lot of injuries, a lot of pain, a lot of health issues. And I said right from when I first started seeing somebody, like I'd always say, your body, before even the book, because I was diagnosed in 2003. So a lot of stuff was not even talked about in those days, but I knew that leading up to my diagnosis, and it took 4 car accidents in 10 years to have the last one take me out for a year. And I honestly say it saved my life, because I was diagnosed with ovarian cysts. I was diagnosed with an AVM, arterial venous malformation, and then finally with PTSD, to do with my job. I thought it was all to do with the car accidents. It had to do, I was an emergency police dispatcher. And so all the stuff you take, we learn to push things down, and you never bring them up until something makes you sit in your you-know-what until you get it, right? So I always say God made me sit in my shit until I got it, and it was time to change my life. But we need to recognize that, and the doctors need to recognize it. The medicating people so badly, and medication is good. Medication has helped me, but it also has done some not so nice things to my body. And so we have to recognize that. And I've just recently come across a book that I really, and it resonated because my husband had some issues with a medication. And so I was looking for something, and it's Your Body Cries for Water. And I can't pronounce his name, but, brilliant. It makes so much friggin' sense. And he's tried to bring it out. I think he wrote it in the 80s or the 90s. And the fact that people, the medical field didn't want to know about this. And in 1991, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Oh, I had that.
And they put me on, because I wasn't going into REM, right? So I had sleep deprivation and stuff. So they put me on a small dose of sleeping pill and something else, I don't know. Well, I found out I've had an opposite reaction to quite a few drugs, actually. And that one had me bouncing off the walls. And so there again, they don't recognize that. It was a naturopathic college in Toronto actually diagnosed me and told me to go back and see my doctor and go see a rheumatologist. But I had a chiropractor who was very, very forward in nutrition and stuff. And we did a liver detox and I did exercise and stuff. And within a month, all the symptoms were gone. And I went back to the rheumatologist and I said, do you want to know what I did? And she says, no, you're in remission. Don't need to see you again. And there's residual. Like I you know, that my muscles don't heal as fast if I pull something or that. But the thing is I'm aware. And I think we're not aware so much. And I think that's what we really need to let people know, to become aware that, and also that they have a choice when they're talking to their doctor. Their doctor should be their partner. I had a doctor for over 20 years that was my partner in everything. And when I said something to her, she would check it out. She took my word for it that I was going through something. Same with, I surround myself with people that will listen to me. And I'm training a new doctor now. She didn't listen to me and put me on a drug that she now knows I shouldn't be on. But, you know, I think that we really need to be our own advocates or find somebody that can be an advocate for us. I was that for my husband when they misdiagnosed him. And we just have to, like, I grew up in a time, I'm 70 now. So we grew up in a time where doctors were gods. You know, we didn't question anything. And as we come more away, and Louise Hay, her You Can Heal Your Life, was really my first teacher on that in the 80s. And so we really need to do that. And my body's going through something else now. So I'm reaching out to those people I know that can do some help for me. But it is, the medical field is not all that it's always made up to be. We need them. We need everybody.
We do.
I'll just jump in because I know Leanne's just commented. Leanne, I know I sent you a link. If you still want to pop in, you're more than welcome to. It's up to you. But if not, I'll stay in the comments. It don't matter. But I want to hear from, because I know we've not heard from Nick or Ashley yet. I know Ashley ain't supposed to be here until next week. But how are you, Ashley? Because you look lost.
Again, like I told you earlier, putting out fires, but it's all good. No, what Janet was saying, I completely relate to all of that, being your own best advocate. And one of my very good doctor friends, Dr. Patrick Flynn, who has written books called I Disagree, and he just recently released one called I Still Disagree, talks about the medical establishment and how he disagreed when doctors told his wife she's never going to have kids, she's always going to be sick, like she's gonna, like all of these things, because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And one of the things that he always talks about is the 3 T's: trauma, toxins, and thoughts. And it's not even so much your emotions and your thoughts that create the issues within the body, but our food system, the toxins that we put in our bodies. Just because a vegetable is good for one person doesn't mean it's good for the other person. So it's knowing what those triggers are within your body, and then any traumas, whether it be injury or abuse or whatever it is, those things all have that impact on our bodies. So what are we doing with the tools that we've been given? Are we trusting the medical establishment, which we all know has corruption and all has bullying and all of the things that they practice and they say are good for you, when in reality, they're not. They're creating more damage to our bodies, but they don't want to do the work to get to the root. It's let's slap a Band-Aid on it and call it good, and you're just the next number. Next. And you're the lifelong patient, if you will, to the pharmaceutical company. So
do you know what? Yeah, you've triggered me, Ashley. You've triggered me, and I'm going to say it. Doctors here in England, and I don't know if you've got it as well, Nick, down where you are, but here in Lancashire, you can only see a doctor for 15 minutes at a time.
It's hard getting from the doctor.
15 minutes. How is that enough time? How's that? It's not enough.
Booking a doctor in London.
That's all you get in America. 15 minutes.
In the States, that's like how it is. My dad and
Here we
brother,
go.
there's a book, I forgot what it was called, but it was because doctors, I know, well, because my brother and my dad are one, but like they're put in such a, tight spot, they, in order to, like, they only get to see this and then they have overhead. And so it's almost like the system, even if people, they can't practice or they can't really stay there long enough to even, have more of a discussion because our system doesn't pay for it. And so, and how the system is set up, it just endorses and encourages, the quick fix. Whereas, I don't know, all of these changes in the US happened, I think, in the more of the 80s. So it just puts them in a hard spot. And so I always am like, the system is, is in the States is kind of messed up. So
Corrupt then. Corrupt.
Yeah.
It is each person's choice, opportunity, and responsibility to become their own advocate.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have the ability to become their own advocate, there are others who will advocate for them. Earlier, when I spoke of the greatest fear being death, even though the experience of dying may be soft, sensitive, and the other side may be wonderful, the experience of death and dying is not a pleasant experience, whether it's just for you or the people around you. I'm a mother of 5 children. The experience of death and dying will affect all of my people. So the opportunity to heal emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially is an opportunity. Christopher Rausch wrote on there earlier that we can have the choice to get a doctor who is going to diagnose, who is perhaps going to participate in surgery, offer a medication, which are all valid. But there are other options, as example, like he said, coaching. There are many choices that we can make in life. The choice is ours. The opposite of addiction is connection.
Yep.
It's interesting. I did I worked for a while in the College of Surgeons, so you met a lot of surgeons, and they dealt, some of them did like surgery to do with cancer and things, and they did this. There's a big paper published about what impacted the life chances the most of some of the patients with terminal illness, and they said they didn't talk about the technology or the medicine. They said that it was often, it's the person's resilience and the person's sort of mindset, how they, whether they let it overwhelm them or whether they had determination. And they said, often when they first gave the news, to a patient that they had something potentially terminal, how they received the news in that short period after that, they could tell, they couldn't tell obviously the final result, but they could tell, okay, this person, they can see they have a determined, resilient mindset. They're going to cope better. And it's interesting. None of them mentioned the medicine is what to make the biggest difference, or the surgery. They said actually. So yeah, just my thoughts. So yeah, I think there's been a lot of research about energy. Like energy never goes; it just changes form, but it never disappears. Just it passes along. I think emotions a bit like that. We know that emotions have like a ripple effect. If we're really angry and we meet people, then that can get passed on and affect the people we meet, like a chain reaction. The same if we're happy and positive. And I think if we don't, with emotion, it's such a strong thing. If we don't, healthily display it, then it just gets displaced. And if it's not displaced externally, it gets displaced internally. And I think, it's echoing a lot of what people said. It's the impact of how we, between emotions and physical and mental health and physical health is obviously we know is massive. And I think emotions is one aspect of that. Affects how we emotions affect how we approach things. Our resilience to challenges come along, and definitely, it's a massive thing. It's part of that ripple effect externally and internally, and I think sometimes we don't not even aware of like the ripple effect internally that emotions can have. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got the entire world here. We've got the whole world. We've got Canada in the house. We got America in the house. We've got Great Britain in the house. We're missing a few continents. And when we look at the traditional healthcare system, it was created on purpose. If I break my arm, I'm going to the hospital. If I need a diagnosis, I'm going to a doctor. We have to find whatever it is that resonates with us, what we need, and then be open to other options. I mean, we haven't even begun to scratch the surface, Adam. Why don't we start talking about past lives and the repression of those emotions? I mean, come on, we got a lot to go here, right?
we definitely need a part 2 in this. I totally agree. I totally agree. Maybe part 3 as well. But it's just all about that. But you mentioned about like if you want a diagnosis going through the doctor. When I got my daughter diagnosed with autism, I completely avoided the doctor. I went elsewhere. And this is what I always say. Is when it comes to medications, because I've been off medications now for 5 years, because I used to be really obsessed with prescription medications, and as soon as that doctor said to me, I'm going to put on notes for every doctor to stop giving you medication because I believe it will make your mental health worse. And ever since that, I've just stopped having them. That's completely stopped, and that was like 5 years ago. But if people want to take medications because they think it's helping, go for it. But I always believe there's always an alternative.
Well, I think I don't know if it's Dr. Allison. I don't know if you mentioned that. Was it you mentioned the Chinese medicine?
Yes.
I think that shows in the West we rely on, we use this, the conventional medicine, which is very pharmaceutically based, and it's a very sort of established structured system that all dots follow, but actually look at the West, the Eastern medicine and Chinese, it's a completely different approach. It's a completely different way of viewing the body holistically and a more natural approach. And it's and that's just two systems. There's other examples of health approaches around the world, but I think it's interesting that in the West
absolutely
most people don't even know or aware of this, the sort of more Eastern Chinese approach, which
Well, I think part of the challenge is that Western medicine is, and you got the government involved with it, at least over here in the United States and other parts of the world as well. Yeah. And people are looking for the quick fix. And the problem with Western medicine is they neglect the Ayurvedic approach, the holistic approach of the body. I mean, take cholesterol. I mean, you get me started on this discussion about cholesterol, you won't shut me up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's terrible.
Get started.
They put you on cholesterol medication.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous, right? They're not taking into account the whole part of the brain. You start denying brain fat, the brain starts to die. We got all kinds of increases in Alzheimer's and dementia and all this other stuff. What is there a correlation? I don't know. And the other thing, Dr. Snowden, you were touching on before about training doctors in their language, right? So my expertise is in understanding language and listening language patterns. And you are 100% correct. You say the wrong thing when it's totally open in a traumatized state or in a deep trance state, if you will, but I mean, they're totally open and you got a direct connection into that subconscious mind, and you say the wrong thing, you can absolutely create phobia. You can create all kinds of trauma and long-term challenges for that person just because the wrong thing was said at the wrong time. So I'm 100% on board with what you're saying there, and that goes with teachers and everything. I mean, we could go down a whole rabbit trail with.
Come on, guy, don't get me started with a system, please. Come on.
It's true. Like how many people because words and I think I think here in the West, in the States, they're obsessed. I think diagnosis can help, but they also can harm. And also it is stigmatizing maybe a process that is going through like grief, and it's medicalizing it and it's making it not normal. And I think that conversation needs to happen. But with my doctors, my orthopedic guy, he was like, surgeon, he was like, you're going to be in pain the rest of your life. And I was like, excuse me? Like, why would you say that to a 16-year-old girl? And I mean, I can remember like internalizing it. And then like a source came in, no, you get to decide what your future is. Is it going to be hard? Well, yeah, like I had my whole left side was broken. So yeah, it will be. But I was like, I get to decide. And then I would just, I'd be laying in my hospital bed and I'd just be imagining myself running, horseback riding again, walking around pain free. I'm like, it's going to happen. And it's like, how many, and so like now I'm 41 and I have zero pain, but there's like some of, people that are my age who hasn't gone through hardly at any of the amount of, pain that I went to, they have pain. So it's like what, there is a terminal diagnosis. I mean, anything is possible. And, we are human. So we are going to physically die at one point or the other. But I think quality of life is so important. And I survived a horrible trauma. Awesome. But like to suffer from nightmares, to be in physical pain, I was like, I don't accept this, because I don't, that sounds horrible to me. And it was horrible. I think emotional trauma and also, emotional flashbacks, of being in and out of consciousness, all of that stuff is in there. It needs to be cleared out. And it was, I don't know, like when I got to a certain theta healing really helped me with the physical and the emotional stuff, because I worked a lot with chronic pain patients. Acupuncture worked really well, but also just love and connection and someone looking at them and saying, I believe you and I believe you can heal. If I can do it. And I always tell my clients, I was a hot mess. Like I was dysregulated and in pain, like I was really bad. If I can do it, you can do it. And I believe you. And I think a lot of people are not listened to, and doctors not being present and people not being present for others, I think is very isolating. And then and I always tell my clients, we heal in connection. We heal in connection with other human beings and then reconnecting to ourselves. And I think, and I also say with some of my some of my clients that if they are having a health issue, I'm always like, let's turn the narrative around. What if this is opening something up in you that needs to be opened up? And what if this is just a start of something deeper? Because guess what? Like on the healing journey, and when you turn inward, whether it's a death, a loss, a job, when you turn inward, like it can be a scary place, but if you have support and if you have other people, like all of us, like supporting others, it can actually be so enriching and you can come out the other side. And like, even better. So I think hope is really important. And then I think also, helping people to find what works for them. I sometimes, when I look back, like I'm so grateful I found theta healing when I did and acupuncture when I did. So it was a process for me of finding different tools. But like I made two of my best friends go through theta healing, And one of my friends just had how she related with men was not healthy for her. And so she went through all of the training, and like there's nothing better than to see a human you love heal. Like, I'm sure, like just be happy. And I just was like crying out of joy. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm crying because like I'm happy. And it was such an upward hill battle for me. And I just think quality of life and that reconnection to yourself and others is so important.
I want to jump in on something that you said earlier, and I know I'm kind of taking over here, but you said something that I think is really important. I was thinking of it before, and then you said it, and I'm like, we gotta have this discussion, because one of the challenges that doctors do, we're kind of on that trail for a little bit, is they will make a quote unquote diagnosis. We heard many diseases thrown out just in this panel, right? And doctors are really good. Okay, let's try to figure out what's wrong with you, and then we're going to give it a label.
Yep.
And as soon as you give it a label, that interpretation for that person could be totally different than the interpretation for another person. Just like you saying, you're not going to buy into their diagnosis, or that your diagnosis is going to be how I'm going to be living the rest of my life, right? You took the power into your own hands. Because one of the challenges in language, and this is an NLP basic, is that we delete, distort, and generalize information. And so as soon as you put a label on it, you've just done all three things. You've deleted information, you distorted information, you certainly generalized. Because if I get diagnosed with cancer, my mental health may not be able to understand that. And I feel that. And I might just take myself down this path. I'm going to die. I got cancer. I'm going to die. And any other kind of resolution is non-existent. And that's a bunch of BS. And that is something we were talking about with this Western.
Yeah, I think this is another podcast. I think this is another podcast topic. Yeah. Yeah. But I want to hear from Leanne. I want to hear from Leanne, because I know we got a bit of a confusion, haven't we?
Yeah. Sorry. I am so sorry, y'all. Like, I looked at my phone and went, oh, I'm supposed to be on air. Oops. Seriously.
Yeah, but what you have heard, what is your views on this?
Oh gosh. Okay. So it's interesting from an educational point of view.
Yes.
You guys both, Dr. Snowden, brought up a really good point about the brain-mind connection, and the fact that yes, we need labels, especially in education. I hate it personally. We need labels in order to get help for my students and get what they need to go. But once I look at the label and go, okay, this might be something they go through or a challenge, then it's done. Then I see the person. And so I'm listening to you guys talking about the importance of seeing the person, mind-body connection. And yeah, medically, doctors are trained a certain way. And so they kind of go with the flow on that, I guess is my best way to put it. Do I agree with it? No. And I definitely agree with how a label and language can really influence how someone thinks and approaches things. So I actually agree with like a lot of different parts of what y'all are saying. And I also come in on it, the educational side of it. So it's really interesting for me to hear your viewpoints and what's going on with it. But I don't agree with labeling, and I don't agree with a lot of how, because my dad is a retired dermatologist. He ran the dermatology department in Santa Barbara. He was like revered in the state of California. Everyone from the state of California would come see my father, Dr. Medved. Revered. But he was old school. He didn't do like the 15-minute crap. He didn't care if the clinic told him you only have 15 minutes. Dad's like, no, you're my patient. I'm going to see you. What's wrong? Yeah. I'm going to help you because you're a person, not a number. Yep. So yeah. I mean, my daddy was old school. That's why I'm telling you, Dr. Medved, my dad, the retired dermatologist, beloved, still to this day. We walk around town, and people, oh my God, Dr. Medved. They like run up to my dad. He's a celebrity.
Oh, I mean, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, doctors, most of them go in, with good intentions. And,
right.
But I mean, some of my clients are actually, I have a couple of medical doctors, and their training is very traumatizing. And,
Yes.
and so I was helping one of them because there's some, just power games, some emotional abuse going on. And so I think, they are also people too.
Yes.
And there's so much pressure and lack of sleep and loans, in the States, like they have crazy loans, all of this stuff. So they're people too. And most of them have a good heart, and whether, but I do think they need some training from survivors, or in just how not to hurt people, and how to really listen or not, label, something. And I think what we were talking about, what Guy was talking about, is like how we even react to a label is very specific to our programming and what else is going on in the background of our narrative and our story and our identity. I guess like I am slightly rebellious. So someone tells me no, or you can't do something, I'm like, oh, watch me, and I'm going to do it like 5 times better. But that was, I had a learning disability when I was younger too. And I was like, oh, there's a label. They don't think I'm smart. Oh, I know I'm smart, so it's really like your relationship with it. I know some of my, when I was finally diagnosed with PTSD, I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm not like losing my mind. So it was a relief, because I was like, when you're in deep PTSD, that, the emotional flashbacks, or that's more CPTSD, but that takes over. And I think, I think you're not there. It's scary for people. And I think the emotions, and especially flashbacks, I think it's so funny, before my trauma, I was like, in the movies where, the army guy has a flashback, and, it's like a visual one. I was like, that's so, the only way they can show it is through a visual, because we're at a movie. But how I would experience it would be like my whole body would feel unsafe, or I would just start shaking, or it was very somatic. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I think also just people, trauma can manifest in other ways. So like physically, chronic disease, mental health, but then also people who are very mean or bullies, I feel like they, they probably have some trauma, or they got that model somewhere for them. And so it's like I just look at, it's just fascinating to look at it from that lens, because, happy, balanced people don't, are not like yelling at people, or, saying mean things on the internet about people. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think we're getting into next week's show here. Yeah, if you didn't know, next week we're actually talking about how to help children overcome trauma.
Yeah.
That's next Friday's topic, and I know you're on that. I think that was the confusion, Leanne.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Talk about a blonde moment, Lord.
It's okay.
Yeah, well, that's next Friday. That's next Friday.
I will be there, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should wrap up. Yeah, I think we should wrap up, because we've gone over the hour mark. But yeah, definitely when it comes to doctors and medication and mental health, we definitely need to talk about it. Yeah. I really do. So I'm hoping you, Guy, and Dr. Allison come back for that.
Yeah.
Because you two can talk.
Thank you.
I'm like, I feel like these topics, I feel like I've been studying my whole life, just personally, and then going through it, the healing process and the emotions. I'm like, this is so cool, because people can hear this. When I was going through all of my stuff in like 99, the internet was hardly there, so I felt super isolated. So I'm so happy that, these type of spaces exist for people, because the stigma is, and I love just saying like, yeah, I was like suicidal, had PTSD, had all these things. Cause guess what? I'm so proud of myself, and those labels aren't who we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll be in touch to talk about the next topic, and yeah, we'll just go from there. But yeah, we'll wrap up and go from there. But so thanks, Stephen. Any final words?
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. There's so much to talk about. It is really, it's a two-parter if you're not incorrect. It's a three-part.
Yeah.
I've done this stuff before too, with panels, and I really appreciate Dr. Allison. Thank you so much. You know, you really shared your personal story. You had trauma. I've had trauma too. You know, I've definitely had trauma, and overcoming that trauma is it's doable, you know, but it takes the intention to want to do it. And I think everybody that watched today has the ability to make a difference and enjoy their life. That's what it is, quality of life. And bedside manner affects it all. But thank you, Adam. I really appreciate you.
You're most welcome. And I know Sloan Steady Stephen's show is coming to live with the Live with Nature and Get to Know. I know that's coming.
It is.
Nick, any last words?
It's a couple of thoughts. I think there's no one right way to to have happiness, success, or even to cope with health. You know, you have to choose the right way for yourself. I mean, there's so many different approaches, different ways of coping with it. So there's no one right way of choosing the right way for yourself. And I think the other thing is just say that we should never ever underestimate the impact that mindset and emotion has on our health and our ability to be happy, to be healthy, and to be successful. Because I think it's a massive difference.
Leanne?
Apologies again for being late, but thank you for welcoming me in. I definitely appreciate it. This is a very, very topic near and dear to my heart too. And I think a part 2 is warranted, just saying. And
there is.
I really, really do. So I think I'll leave it there for now, but I definitely appreciate being part of this, and I have a lot more from the educational side of this that I would love to address. So
well, I'll be seeing you next week.
Yes,
at the right time.
Yes.
Guy.
Thank you, Adam, for having me back on as a guest. Really appreciate it. Always enjoy it, and getting to meet these other people that are looking for a better way to help people and to make a difference in people's lives. So thank you all.
Well, I need your email, guys, so then I can connect you with Dr. Allison and Nancy, because I believe you three will, you'll blow it up.
Yeah, please. I'm ready to, start speaking at doing some programs for some medical doctors. I would love that.
I think you can do that, Dr. Allison, and I say that because one of my shows was with Ask Dr. Jenny, and she is a holistic practitioner, and there was so much to learn from her on that show. And I'd like to be able to give you information, maybe contact her. She teaches physicians because physician conferences ask her to come. So it's like superpower. And I think you guys should connect.
I love it. Because I love doctors. My family is full of them. And I think they're, at the forefront. People are very vulnerable, and they can make such a difference with a couple tweaks. So I would love that. I would love that introduction.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just setting up the email now. So bear with. I'm just writing in Guy's email because I've not got it for some reason. I don't know why. Right. Got it.
I think that's a different one than you and I have been using. So.
Yeah. Well, I've got it now. So there you go. You've added to my contacts. So So thanks everyone for coming on. Please everyone subscribe and share this, because I think this broadcast needs to be shared out there. And yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, great to meet you guys. Good to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you all next week.
Yes, you will. I promise.
All right.